Welcome to a deep dive tailored just for you. Today we're zeroing in on a single, really anticipated baseball game.
Yeah, the very first meeting of the 2025 season between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres.
And we've pulled from a whole stack of sources for this one. We've got game previews, recaps, betting analyses.
And even some direct quotes, straight from the managers and players themselves.
Right. So our mission here is to kind of cut through all that noise and pull out the really important nuggets for you. What was expected, what actually happened.
And maybe what this specific game tells us about these two teams and, well, their rivalry.
Exactly. We're focusing just on the game played this past Monday, June 9th, down at Petco Park in San Diego.
Okay, so let's dive into that rivalry first.
Yeah.
Because it really, it set the stage. It's kind of wild, isn't it?
Right, it is.
Well, we're already deep into June, and Monday night was the very first time these two NL West rivals faced off in 2025.
That is surprising. And wow, the schedule makers decided to make up for it quick.
Oh, yeah. The sources highlighted this. They're now set to play 7 games against each other over just the next 11 days.
7 games. Talk about jumping headfirst into the deep end.
It really underscores how quickly this whole thing has developed, into arguably one of the best rivalries in baseball. Just over the last, half decade?
Yeah, and the sources kept bringing up their playoff history. They've met 3 times in the last 5 postseasons.
Including that Dodgers NLDS win just last October. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. 5 games. Dodgers came back from 2-1 down.
Right, to win it 3-2. And here's a killer detail from the sources about that series. The Dodgers pitching held the Padres scoreless for the final 24 innings.
24. That's just brutal. A tough way to end your season.
So you'd think with that kind of recent history, everyone would just agree, yep, fierce rivalry. But the views from the key people, they're actually surprisingly varied in the sources about how much of a rivalry it really is.
Yeah, it's not straightforward. Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, he said he does see it as a rivalry now because the stakes have been higher lately, he said. He even admitted he used that incident from last October.
Well, the Machado thing, throwing the ball near the dugout.
Exactly. Roberts admitted he used that as a diversion the next day. Like, that shows you how intense he felt it got.
Okay, but contrast that with the Padres manager, Mike Shildt. He calls it likely the best rivalry in baseball for the fans, acknowledging that Petco atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But then he kind of downplayed getting extra motivation from losing last year. He pointed out, hey, the Padres beat the Dodgers head-to-head in the regular season in that playoff series. It was super close.
Right. And Manny Machado himself, the guy in that dugout moment.
What'd he say?
He's quoted basically saying the past is the past, looking forward to competing this year, trying to take them down. But he also mentioned mutual respect and gamemanship. Sounds like he's trying to move on, publicly anyway.
Okay. Then you got other players with different takes, like Freddie Freeman for the Dodgers. He kind of joked.
Oh, yeah, the media wants it to be a rivalry.
Right. But then he quickly added, look, division games are always huge, very important.
And Clayton Kershaw, longtime Dodger.
His perspective must be interesting.
Yeah, he reflected on how their main rivals have shifted over the years. Diamondbacks, Giants, now the Padres. But he kind of put the Dodgers as the constant, saying other teams are just great teams that are chasing us.
Like, we set the bar, you guys try to reach it.
Pretty much. And Max Muncy, another Dodger vet, he seemed to capture what a lot of people feel. He said the Padres bring everything that is in a rivalry, the hostile fans, the good teams, intense games.
Right.
But he still feels the Giants are the one true historical rival for LA, like the classic matchup.
Okay, gotcha. So regardless of how they define it, the stakes were definitely high going into Monday.
For sure. Both the Padres and the Giants were sitting just 1 game behind the Dodgers in the NL West.
Wow, 1 game.
So even though Roberts said it's still, quote, too early in June for this one series to decide the season, these head-to-heads are obviously critical for the division.
Yeah, you can't downplay that. And on a slightly different note, Roberts also mentioned hoping this series could be a positive distraction for folks in LA facing hard times.
Oh, that's nice. Did he elaborate?
He specifically highlighted its significance for the Latino community, since both teams have really strong fan bases there.
That's a great point. Okay, one last thing on the rivalry mindset from the sources.
Yeah.
The Padres apparently play with this rugged, grassroots, almost street fight mentality, an edge.
And the Dodgers know they have to match that energy.
Exactly. Sets the tone, right?
Definitely. Okay, so that's the backdrop. High stakes, intense feelings. Let's talk pitching for game 1.
Right. Dodgers sent out RHP Dustin May. Padres countered with RHP Nick Pivetta.
Dustin May, known for that filthy movement. Really nasty stuff sometimes.
Yeah, but the sources also noted his stuff hasn't looked quite as sharp this season.
How so?
Well, his underlying numbers kind of showed it. A 4.46 expected ERA, that's xERA, and opponents hitting .265 expected batting average, xBA. Both those stats. Bottom 28% in the league. Not great.
Okay, that's interesting. And he's had road struggles too, right?
Yep. Sources mentioned a 1.3 record, 5.40 ERA, 1.41 WHIP in 5 road starts this year. WHIP, walks plus hits per inning, lots of base runners allowed away from home.
So even though his career numbers against the Padres are actually pretty decent, like a 3.36 ERA,
Right.
1.0000 WHIP.
Right.
His recent form, especially on the road, maybe hinted at some vulnerability.
He has been striking guys out lately, though. 30 Hays in his last 4 starts, about 22 innings.
Okay, so there's that.
But the sources also pointed to a kind of middling walk rate and issues just getting guys out on contact. Roberts even specifically mentioned May needing to manage his emotions in that Petco environment. Ties back to the rivalry stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, now for the Padres. Mick Pivetta. He came in looking pretty solid, 6-2 record, 3.16 ERA.
And the sources raved about his home performance. One called him nearly untouchable at Petco Park this season. Said his home numbers were fantastic.
Although his last start wasn't amazing. Gave up 5 earned runs over 6 innings.
True. But his career stats against the Dodgers were actually pretty impressive, like a 2.96 ERA against them overall. And he even threw 6 shutout innings against LA last year.
Okay. And his style often features that high heater fastball, right?
That's what the sources said.
So on paper, maybe a pitcher's duel. But you've got May's recent road issues, Pivetta's last start being a bit rough, maybe some cracks there.
Yeah, left some room for doubt. And the sources also noted the Padres had Cease and Vasquez lined up for the next 2 games, but the Dodgers hadn't named anyone yet, hinting maybe a bullpen game was coming later.
Interesting. All right, so that's the pitching setup. Intense rivalry backdrop and conflicting betting predictions, apparently.
Totally conflicting. One source was all in on the over 8 runs.
Based on
Pointed to the Dodgers' recent trend. The over had hit in 25 of their last 40 games. Like a 20% ROI if you were betting that.
okay, strong trend, but
But other sources leaned hard the other way, towards the under 8 or 8.5 runs.
what the under?
They cited a bunch of stuff. Dodgers scoring low recently, 3 or fewer runs in 5 of their last 8. May's personal undertrend 5-1 in his last 6 starts, despite the road issues. The Padres' own strong undertrend 4 straight, 8-2 in their last 10.
Wow, okay.
And the undertrend in Pivetta's starts too. Plus, and this was key for them, the Petco Park effect.
The marine layer, power suppression.
Exactly. They argued Petco limits fly balls, which would favor the pitchers, even if the Dodgers' offense was generally hot.
So trends in the park say low score, but one source says follow the Dodgers' season-long over trend. Interesting tension there.
Right. So let's see what actually happened. Did the pitchers duel?
Not exactly. The offense absolutely stole the show. Right from pitch 1.
Pitch 1.
Shohei Ohtani, double. First pitch of the game.
No way.
Yep. Then Freddie Freeman follows up with an RBI double.
Yeah.
Boom. 2 Ziller Dodgers in the first.
Okay, fast start for LA. But the Padres.
Oh, they answered right back. Second inning, they score 3 runs. One was helped by a Will Smith error behind the plate.
Ouch.
And just like that, the Padres take the lead 3-2.
Wild. Okay, back and forth already.
Totally. Third inning, Dodgers tie it 3-3 on a Teoscar Hernandez sac fly. Then Will Smith.
Redemption time?
Big time. 2-run homer. His 6th of the year puts the Dodgers back up 5-3, still in the third.
Incredible swing. Making up for the error, but knowing this game.
Exactly. The Padres did not flinch.
Yeah.
Bottom of the third, they score 3 more runs right back.
You're kidding?
Nope, they retake the lead again, 6-5. So much for Pivetta being untouchable at home. He'd given up 7 hits already by the third, threw a ton of pitches.
And May.
He walked a season-high 4 batters. The pitching duel prediction? Yeah, that went out the window fast.
So 6-5 Padres after 3 insane innings. Did it calm down?
A little bit.
Heard of it.
But then, top of the 5th, Ha-Seong Kim for the Padres.
Sure.
RDI double.
Ties it up again.
Ties it up again, 6-6.
Unbelievable. And it stayed that way.
Stayed that way all the way through 9. Kirby Yates came in for the Dodgers in the 9th, held the line, sent it to extras.
Extra innings. Okay, Ghost Runner on second.
Yep. And the Dodgers finally pushed ahead in the top of the 10th. Andy Pages and Tommy Edman got key hits, drove in runs.
And the final.
Dodgers win it 8-7. Just an absolutely wild game.
8-7 in extras. So back to those predictions.
15 total runs. That blew the under predictions out of the water. The source calling for the over. Nailed it.
Yeah, the bats just completely took over. Petco's reputation didn't matter much that night.
Nope. And for the bettors, Padres plus 1.5 runs didn't cover, obviously. Dodgers money line at Nagna 129. That paid off.
The specific moments really tell the story, don't they? Ohtani's leadoff double.
Freeman's RBI double, but then getting picked off later.
Will Smith's error, then the huge homer.
Mays walks. Pivetta getting shelled early.
Kim's clutch tying hit. Even Machado making a tough play at third. Tatis causing an error with his base running. Just constant action.
Max Muncy summed it up perfectly after the game in one source. He just said, the bats have come alive and stuff. We're just playing Powerball.
Powerball baseball. I like it. Okay, shifting gears just a bit from the game itself. The sources had some details about actually being at Petco Park.
Yeah, practical stuff. It was expected to be a packed house, a sellout, which isn't surprising for this matchup.
And for you, if you're heading there anytime soon, they mentioned the clear bag policy again. You know, bags bigger than 5x7, gotta be clear, under 12 by 6x12.
Right. And you can bring in outside food if it's wrapped, or bags, soft container, throwable stuff needs slicing.
Like apples or oranges, yeah.
Yeah.
And drinks. One sealed non-alcoholic bottle, or an empty reusable water bottle. Standard stuff, mostly.
Good reminders, though. They also mentioned the MTS trolley service being ramped up and parking apps like Spot Hero. Useful tips.
Okay, and one last thing. The sources highlighted a community effort from Max Muncy.
Oh, yeah. What's he up to?
He's hosting a charity event, Uncorked for a Cause, coming up this Thursday, June 12th. It's to support LA fire relief efforts.
Oh, that's fantastic. Helping people rebuild homes and stuff.
Exactly. 100% of the proceeds go to that. They're having an auction with signed memorabilia.
Cool. Anything specific mentioned?
Yeah, get this. A personalized Shohei Ohtani jersey signed directly to the winner.
Wow. That'll go for a bit, I bet.
Right. And people can bid online even if they can't make the event.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Muncy was quoted saying, the devastation hit hard since LA's his home now. He praised other guys too, right?
Yeah, I mentioned Kershaw, Freeman, Mookie Betts, Will Smith, other really philanthropic teammates. It's a good reminder, behind the intense competition, these guys are involved off the field too.
Definitely. Okay, so let's pull it all together for this deep dive. We dug into that crazy, high-scoring, extra-inning opener between the Dodgers and Padres.
Yeah. And the key takeaways seem pretty clear, right? This first meeting, it absolutely lived up to the rivalry hype. Constant drama, lead changes.
Totally. And the pitching. Way more shaky than some predicted.
Yeah.
That Powerball offense, as Muncy called it, was definitely the story of the night.
And it's fascinating how the players and managers themselves have these, nuanced, sometimes even conflicting views on what the rivalry actually means to them.
Yeah, it's not monolithic. So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay.
Given how intense this one game was, the crazy offense, the different takes on the rivalry, and knowing there are 7 more games between these two coming up in the next week and a half.
Right.
How does this deep dive maybe change how you look at the rest of their matchups this season? Are those higher stakes going to keep delivering this kind of wild drama every single time they play?